Hey guys, Pretzelman945 here. Welcome back to the video. And in today's video, I am going to be making a review that I have been putting off doing for about like 2.5 months at this point. Not because I didn't want to. I always wanted to make a video about this show. It just took me a very well. Number one, I wanted to wait for it to finish airing because when I had watched it, it wasn't finished airing yet, and it took me a lot of time to properly gather my thoughts on this show. But the show that I am going to be reviewing today is Frieren. And I'm just going to, out the park, say it. Frieren is the most beautiful show I've ever seen. And of course, when I say that, I don't mean the animation. The animation is fucking incredible, though. And yet another reason of many why Madhouse is my absolute favorite animation studio, indisputably. Um, but like in terms of like the message and everything like that, Frieren is the most beautiful show I've ever seen. Now, I have no idea how long this is going to be. I have no idea, like, if I'm going to even be able to properly communicate my thoughts properly in this review as to why I love this show so much. But damn it, I'm going to try. Um, so speaking on the animation part, they show that by no means needed like crazy animation or anything like that, really, like at all necessarily. And yet the animation is crack sometimes. The animation goes so hard, especially during the action sequences. Like the way they animate the magic and the action is just, it's a feast for the eyes. And it's like, it's one of the best animated things I watched last year. It was just top tier animation that was completely unnecessary, but man, am I so glad it's there. Um, um, and another thing I really want to make sure I mention is that another more minor reason I was waiting to make this video is because I was waiting for the release of the full soundtrack. Um, Because the initial 12 songs that were in pre-release were already enough to make it my second favorite anime OST, and with the full soundtrack released as of this Wednesday, the 17th, it is now my favorite anime OST, like by far. It pretty easily now with the full soundtrack release, like trumps Hunter x Hunter. Um, because just number one, it's like 70 songs. It's quite a big OST for the anime, which I always like. There are so many different like kinds of songs, and the instrumentation is so varied, and it's just such a pleasant soundtrack to listen to. It's easily like up there with my favorite soundtracks ever now. Like no question. Um, and kind of talking on the more, I guess from the animation, I want to transition into the world of Frieren, I guess. I think the world and the world building in Frieren is absolutely brilliant. Like, um, there are so many like subtle details to it, and it feels like there is so much history there, which I really enjoy, not just because I'm a huge history buff, but I feel like, seeing how that world is so lived in is fascinating to me. I think that the way that Frieren manages to like use time and this sense of history to display all these subtle elements of its world and show the progression of things and characters through time. Like when things progress through time, and I'll get into this more when I'm talking about Freeland's character development in a second, but like the way that the world manages to feel like there were like entire lives like lived within this world is just such an incredible like achievement to me because it makes it so engaging. Like you feel like you almost could live there, which is something that I like. I can very rarely say that about like a lot of anime worlds and worlds of fiction in general, despite how incredible they might be and how good the world building of a piece of fiction might be. There are very few that are like Frieren where I can say that it feels like I could live in the world. Um, I absolutely adore that aspect of it, honestly. I think it's definitely one of the best parts of the show. Um, now, speaking on the characters that I just mentioned earlier, Frieren has got to be one of my favorite female characters in all of fiction. And honestly, like the same might go for Mau Mau in Apothecary Diaries. It's like pretty close up there. Well, it's not related, but I just want to shout that out because I'm watching Apothecary Diaries right now and I freaking love Mau Mau as a character. But Frieren is absolutely up there as like one of my favorite female characters in all of fiction because um and I love everything about Freeland. That is the only way I can put it. I love her personality. I love her interaction and relationship with every single character. I love her relationship and lessons that she learns from Himmel. I love the way that she develops and perceives time. Her entire arc is like about and I'm sure there's been a bajillion video essays by this point that have explained this so much better than I'm going to, but like I love Frieren's character development and how she has to learn to appreciate the other people's time and also like learn how to appreciate time herself. I think that just like from the very first episode, the show does an incredible job of just immediately and making you incredibly invested in Freeland's character. And yeah. Um I also love Fern. I think that I love the relationship between Fern and Freeland. That relationship has got to be one of my favorites. Because it just feels so genuine and it feels like somehow it somehow like um has aspects of mother daughter and that switches between them, but it also has like a sisterly relationship in a way to them being master apprentice to their relationship kind of it's fascinating because it like falls under so many different like archetypes and sub archetypes of the archetypes that it like is really difficult to classify, and I think that makes it really engaging to watch their interactions together because it causes their interactions to be so nuanced and just like fun on a number of levels. So I personally really like that a lot. And I love Fern's personality. I love her like loyalty to Heiter and her like desire and willingness to always learn and improve and this idea that she is a project compared to Frieren and how she has accomplished so much in her own short amount of time, but the way she still manages to be so humble about it. It's just like Fern is always such a nice like personality on screen every time. I also love Stark. Stark is such a pleasant character to be around every time. Like I feel like if I knew Stark in real life, I feel like me and him would be like best friends. Stark, I feel like would be a best friend to literally everybody. I think that he is just such a marvelous character. Um, I also really like a lot of the side characters. Like Sign kind of feels like this like fatherly figure, older brother type figure that I really enjoy. Denkin is probably my favorite side character because I think he just has a really interesting personality, and I think that his like personality is expanded upon so much, especially in the manga, which I will talk about a little bit, not a whole lot, but what I'm gonna say about the manga is that I've talked to the manga. The manga is really, really good. I really like I'm gonna call it the Golden Land arc and the flashback arc for the time being. Those two arcs were both incredible in their own rights. And I really enjoyed the plot content with them, especially and the reason Denkin is like one of my favorite characters in this series is because of the incredible character development he goes through through that arc. But I'll probably have more to talk about that whenever it gets like properly animated in season two. Um, so yeah, I really love Denkin. I think I love his grandpa vibe, and I think he's got a really cool personality. Um, and I also like really love the theme of like, I love all the side characters introduced in the Mage Exam arc and like how that ties into like, the meaning of magic and like the way that humans have evolved. That's like another aspect of the world building I really, really love with like the way that time passes is like seeing the way that humans evolve, seeing like these other mages that are so strong compared to what Frieren is used to is really, really interesting. And I really, really like that a lot. Um, Now, I think that's kind of like all I wanted to cover in terms of like a review aspect about the show. The last thing I really want to talk about is like how Freewind affected me personally, because Freewind had a significant impact on my life in a way that I was not expecting. Because like before Freewind, I would already say that like, I feel like my life has the best it's ever been. I feel like it's like an absolute high point personally. And yet, somehow watching Freeman manage to take this high that I already thought was there and then just allow me to kind of like go all the way up there in terms of like, because what Frieren taught me to do, and the absolute favorite thing about it is the way that they simulate the time passing. I think the way this is done through like still animation frames is just brilliant. Like, but that's not the main point. What Frieren did for me is it was allow me to be able to look at a situation and just kind of realize that I can slow down. Like, it's okay. And not that I was like, rushing things or becoming overly stressed in my personal life and whatnot, but it just allowed me to be able to just slow down and take a look at things on a deeper level, just like Freeman does in a lot of situations. And I feel like the way I've been able to apply this to my personal life has helped like elevate like my, you know, happy like levels of happiness and just like general life enjoyment to like an exponential degree higher than the high that I already was experiencing. And for that reason, Freerun will eternally be a special show to me. And this show is my new seventh favorite anime of all time. If you have not seen Frieren, this is like this is like going to become like one of the instant animes I can recommend to literally anybody because it has literally something for everyone within this show. And I guarantee that anyone who gives it a try will find themselves enjoying it to some degree. Um, and I think that's probably gonna wrap up the review. Like I said, um, it probably wasn't gonna be super long, but at the same time, I knew I had to make a video about it because it is the most beautiful show I've ever seen, and it I feel like has changed my life for the better. So for that, I thank you very much, Frieren. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.